Hello guys, welcome to Clarity for Sure and welcome to another episode of Concept Clarity Lecture Series, an initiative by Agri Clarity, a sister channel of Clarity for Sure. So today's topic of discussion will be pomology, and in this we're going to discuss about the different types of fruits and the classification of fruits, which is important from the examination point of view. So now let's see about the different types of fruit. But before that, let us first discuss where from the word pomology arrived. So you see, the pomology word has been derived from two words, pomum and logos. So pomum is a Latin word which means fruit, and logos is a Greek word which means study. Okay, so that means the word pomology means study of fruit and its cultivation. Okay, so now that we have seen about the meaning of the term pomology, let us delve deep into now regarding fruits. Okay, so first we'll say about the definition of fruit. So when we talk about the definition of fruit, there are basically two definitions. One is your botanical definition and another is your horticultural definition. So in the botanical definition, you see that what is given here, that a fruit is a matured ovary. Okay, so this matured ovary is your keyword, enclosing seed or seeds. And in the horticultural definition, if you see, that is the edible part of the plant consisting of the seed and its envelope, especially the envelope being what? Juicy and pulpy. Okay, then it's called a fruit. So what is the basic difference between this botanical classification and horticultural classification is that in botanical classification, we are talking here about what? The matured ovary. Okay, so fruit is what? A matured ovary. And in horticultural definition, we are saying it is the edible part of the plant, which is what? Pulpy and juicy. Okay. So this edible part of the plant may or may not be derived from the matured ovary. Okay, so that is where the main difference lies between botanical classification of fruit and horticultural definition of fruit. Okay, so based upon these two, in the later slides, we're going to see what are the different types of fruits. Okay, so before moving, let's see another thing about your. One second, give me a second. Okay, all right. So now we'll see what that is two, three important. I want to discuss two, three important concepts related to ovary, related to fruits. Okay. So first, I want to talk here about the ovary. Okay, different types of ovary. So here you see this is the gynoecium. Okay, the female reproductive part of the plant, gynoecium. So this is the stigma, the style, the ovary. Okay, and this whole thing we say is to be what? Ovary. This is the ovary wall, right? You can see I have marked it, ovary wall. Then this is the ovule, right? And the inside we have the embryo sac in which the two egg cells are there, right? So, and this is the thalamus. Now, after pollination and fertilization, what happens? That after fertilization, the egg cell and the embryo sac, then this ovule, the ovary, whole this part, okay, this whole part, it will get transformed into the fruit, right? Yeah. So here you see the ovary wall develops into pericarp, which is the fruit wall, okay, and the ovule develops into the seed, right? So again, this pericarp, if you see, it is from here to here, right? So the outer layer of pericarp is known as exocarp. The middle fleshy layer, this fleshy layer, so this is known as the mesocarp, and the outer portion of the seed, this layer, is known as the endocarp. Okay, so you need to remember these three things, that in case of pericarp, there are three layers of pericarp, or the fruit wall has three layers, right? One is your exocarp, mesocarp, and endocarp. Exocarp is the one that's, you can say, the outer layer, and endo is the inner one, right? Okay. And in between this endo and exo is the meso. And in this meso, you will the meso is generally what? In case of fruits, the meso is the pulpy part, right? Okay, so this is what you can say. I was talking about the botanical classification. So there, that is what they were saying, isn't it? Matured ovary develops into a fruit. Now, sometimes what happens, this thalamus that you see, right? This develops into fruit. Okay, we'll see in the later slides how the thalamus develops into fruit and what such kind of fruit are called. But just you have to remember which part is thalamus. Okay, so this part is the thalamus, right? Okay. Now, another thing that I wanted to discuss with you is that when we will discuss about the types, different types of fruits, so you'll see that there are different types of ovary, okay, which gives rise to different types of fruits. So therefore, it's important for us to know what are the different types of ovary. So this is basically the common ovary, simple ovary, okay, and when we do a cross section of this ovary, we get this sort of figure, right? Okay. Now, you know the whole gynoecium or the female reproductive part of this flower is known as what? It is known as carpel, right? Okay. So there are basically two types of, depending upon the presence of carpel, okay, there are two types of ovary. One is your syncarpous ovary, other one is your apocarpous ovary, right? So syncarpous ovary means when there are multiple ovary, okay, and these ovary are all fused together. You can see here, they're fused together. So when we do the cross section, we get a figure like this. Okay, all are fused together. In the middle, we have these are the ovules are there, right? These are the ovules and the axils. So this is what? This is your syncarpous ovary. Okay. And another form is known as apocarpous ovary. Apocarpous ovary means there are multiple ovaries, but the ovaries are not fused. Okay, these are not fused, unlike syncarpous, where the ovaries or the carpels are fused. And in case of apocarpous, what happens? They're not fused. So this also, the simple ovary also, this also we can say this to be what? Apocarpous ovary, okay? Because this is not fused with anything. So even this also, simple or single ovary also, we can consider that to be apocarpous ovary, okay? So this is the differences, okay? Syncarpous and apocarpous. I hope it's clear now. Another thing or another classification of ovary can be your inferior ovary and superior ovary, okay? So inferior ovary, as the diagram itself, you can see that the ovary is inside sort of a cavity, isn't it? The other floral parts like the, the male part and the calyx, it is above this ovary, right? Which is above the ovary. So it's like the ovary is in a cavity. So when this sort of ovary occurs, this is known as your inferior ovary or epigynous ovary. Okay. And this is a superior ovary. You can say that the ovary is above this stamens, isn't it? Above the stamens. So this is your hypogynous ovary, where the ovary is superior. So you need to remember this different forms of ovary, okay, because when we discuss about the different types of fruits, this is going to be very important, right? So we've seen about syncarpous ovary, we've seen about apocarpous ovary and epigynous ovary and your hypogynous ovary, okay? Now let's move to the next slide. So now we'll see about true fruit versus false fruit, okay? So as I was saying, while I was talking about the botanical definition of fruit, that in case of botanical definition, we've seen that the fruit develops from the ovary of the flower, right? The fruit develops from where? From the ovary of the flower. So if the fruit develops from the ovary of the flower, then such kind of fruits are called as what? True fruit. Okay, such kind of fruits are called as true fruit. Example is a mango. Okay, mango, because the mango directly develops from the ovary. So you see, I was in the diagram, in the previous slide, in the diagram I showed you already, isn't it? That how the ovary develops into fruit. The ovary wall develops into the pericarp, right? And the pericarp has three layers. Exolayer, the outer layer, mesolayer is the inner pulpy layer, and the endocarp is the layer which surrounds the seed, right? So in case of fruit, there are majorly in case of true fruit, okay, there are majorly three parts. This whole thing, that is your pericarp and the seed, okay. So this you need to remember, that is in case of true fruit. Now in case of false fruit, what you will see, whenever the fruit develops from organs other than ovary, Okay, not just the ovary, from organs other than ovary, then such kind of fruits are called as what? False fruits. Okay, like here you say in case of apple, we know that even the edible portion of apple is what? It's the thalamus. Like in the previous diagram I showed you, isn't it? The thalamus, this kind of a structure over which the whole gynoecium is housed, isn't it? So that thing is your thalamus. So you see, this thalamus, okay, in apple fruits, this thalamus develops into this fleshy portion, right? Which is also this fleshy portion, right? And this is known as what? This is, you can see here, the core it is given, right? Core. What is this core? This is where the ovary portion. It is the ovary portion. So this part, it develops from where? It develops from the thalamus, whereas the core portion is the one which develops from the ovary. Okay, so that means accordingly this will be what? The exocarp, this will be the mesocarp, then above the seeds this will be the endocarp and the seed, right? So this is the only portion which is developed from the ovary, whereas this portion, the one that we consume, it is the fleshy thalamus or the fleshy receptacle as it is called. Okay, so such kind of fruits are called as what? Such kind of fruits are called as false fruits, or sometimes they're also known as pseudocarpus fruit. Okay, they're also known as pseudocarpus fruit. Okay, like pericarp is the one which develops from what? Ovary. So something which develops other than ovary is what? Pseudocarpus fruit or false fruit. Okay, I hope this portion is clear about the fruit types, right? I have told you the true fruit, about the false fruit, and the portions. Okay, so examples we have seen in case of mango and apple. Mango is a true fruit and apple is a what? False fruit, right? Okay. So next, let us move to the types of fruit. Okay, basic part about fruit we have discussed. Now we'll move to the types of fruit. Now, there are basically three types of fruit, okay? Depending upon the morphology I'm talking about. So there are three types of fruits: simple fruits, aggregate fruits, and composite fruits, right? So in case of simple fruits, we'll see that there is a single matured ovary in a single flower, right? Sorry. So simple fruit, you see a single matured ovary in a single flower. Okay. And this simple fruits examples are like drupe, berry, pome. Okay. So that means this drupe, berry, pome, these are developed from a single flower. Okay. What is the key word here? Single. And there is also a single matured ovary. Okay. So this is something you need to remember, that in case of simple fruits, okay, in case of simple fruits like the drupe, okay, the berry and the pome, which are simple fruits, there is a single ovary, okay, and which is developed from a single flower. Next, we'll talk about the aggregate fruit. So example of aggregate fruit, you see Itario of Akins, Itario of drupes, it should be drupes, okay, not drupes. And then there is Itario of berries. Okay, so you see this akins, drupes, berries, these are all what? These are all your simple fruits. But when there is a collection of these things, then it is what? It becomes an aggregate fruit. That means what you understand from here is that these kind of fruits, aggregate fruits, they're developed from number of matured ovaries, okay, formed in a single flower. There is just one flower, but there are number of ovaries. Okay, so this you have to understand regarding aggregate fruits. Now, next, if you say about the composite fruits, so in case of composite fruit, the fruit is developed from a complete inflorescence. Okay, not one single flower, rather a complete inflorescence. And examples are Sorosis and Syconus. Okay, so then from here, if you see what are the key points, so there are three types of fruits: simple, aggregate, and composite. So while on one hand, simple fruit is developed from a single ovary in a single flower, okay? And aggregate fruit is developed from what? Number of matured ovaries in a single flower. And composite fruit is developed from what? From a complete inflorescence, okay? So what are the examples of simple fruit? Drupe, berry, pome. Aggregate fruits, just the collection of these things like Itario of Akins, okay? Itario of drupes, Itario of berries. And the composite fruit, which is Sorosis and Syconus. Done? Okay. Now, in details, we're going to see about the different types of fruits, okay? So first we're going to see about drupe, right? So when we talk about drupe, here you see it is one-seeded fruit, right? It's a one-seeded fruit with a skinny pericarp, a fibrous and juicy mesocarp. Okay, so mesocarp and a stony hard endocarp. So because of the presence of the stony hard endocarp, okay, and the drupe fruits, they have very hard seed. So that is why drupe fruits are also known as stone fruits. Okay, so stony hard endocarp, and because of the presence of hard seed, it is known as what? It is known as stone fruits. What are the examples of stone fruits? Mango, plum, apricot, and peach. In the previous slide, I already showed you about mango, isn't it? The three parts of the mango. Similarly, I have taken up a picture here from your peach. Okay, so this one, you see, the pericarp is there. Then this is your pericarp is composed of the exocarp, the mesocarp, and this outer layer is what? It is your endocarp. And this is the seed inside. You see, this is the seed. Okay, this is the layer which is the endocarp, which is hard, right? This layer, if you see, it's half of diagram is given. This inner part is the seed, and above the seed there is this hard layer which is known as the pith or the endocarp, hard endocarp, because of which it is known as what? It is known as stone fruits. Okay, so here you need to remember the examples again. Okay, very important, because there has been questions regarding the type of fruit. Okay, so you need to remember the examples. So what are the examples of drupe? The examples of drupe are what? That is your mango, plum, apricot, and peach. Okay, so this is drupe is a simple fruit, one-seeded fruit. Why? Because it is developed from one ovary, isn't it? One ovary of a single flower. The next type of fruit is your berry. Okay, so here again you see berry, a simple fleshy fruit that usually has many seeds. Okay, and the middle and inner layers of the fruit wall are often not distinct from one another. The mesocarp and the endocarp form a common pulp, embedding the hard seeds. So here, what is the key word? Okay, what is the key word in case of berry is that this is one, this one. Mesocarp and endocarp form a common pulp, embedding the hard seeds. So this inner layers, middle and inner layer, that means mesocarp and endocarp, they are not distinct. Okay, they form a common pulp. Like in case of drupe, we have seen the three layers are very distinct, isn't it? But in case of berry, you will see that mesocarp and endocarp are not distinct. Like here you see, this is your pericarp, right? The tomato skin pericarp. Exocarp, sorry, not pericarp, exocarp. The whole thing is pericarp. So the skin of the tomato is what? It is the exocarp. Now this portion, you see, this portion, do you see any difference? Or when you cut tomato, do you see any difference or any line or something? No, right? So this mesocarp and endocarp are what? Fused, and the seeds are embedded in this pulpy structure. Okay, the seeds are embedded in this pulpy structure. So that is your berry. Okay, now what are the examples of berry then? So examples of berry, here the most common one we have seen already, that is your tomato. Okay, then other one is what? That is banana and grapes. Okay. Okay. So moving on to the next type of before moving to the next type of simple fruit, I want to talk about berry. Okay, so berry, just now we've seen what is berry. Now there are certain fruits which are modifications of berry. Okay, so what are the different modifications of berry? Let's see. First is your hesperidium. Okay, so hesperidium is what? The leathery rind berry of citrus fruit. Okay, that is belonging to the genus citrus is called a hesperidium. The epicarp and mesocarp are fused together to form the skin, which is also known as what? Rind, right? So juicy unicellular hairs are outer growths of the endocarp. Now, in case of hesperidium, what are the key points? Okay, first thing is their leathery rind. Leathery rind, that is the outer skin is a leathery rind. Then this leathery rind is formed by what? Fusion of epicarp and mesocarp. And the inner unicellular hairs, these are the outer growths of the endocarp. Okay. Now, can you tell me what is the difference between this hesperidium and the common berry that we have seen? In case of hesperidium, what we have seen? That the epicarp and the mesocarp have fused, right? Epicarp and mesocarp has fused to form the skin, the leathery rind. Whereas in the simple berry, we saw that the mesocarp and endocarp had fused to form the pulp, right? So the key points, you need to remember the key points, okay? Epicarp and mesocarp has fused together to form the skin. Whereas in case of the simple berry, we have seen that, like in case of tomato, the mesocarp and endocarp had fused to form the pulp, okay? So I hope that's clear. And question might also be asked, okay, the juicy unicellular hairs of citrus are outgrowths of dash. Then you have to write down what? Endocarp. Then another modification of berry is your pepo. Okay, pepo means the cucurbitaceous fruits or vegetables. The fruit type is known as what? Pepo. So this is also a modified form of berry only. Okay. Now, what is the difference between pepo and hesperidium? You will see as we read along. The elongated, tough-skinned fruits, okay, of the cucurbitaceous family are pepo. Epicarp forms a tough rind. Okay, and the seeds are firmly attached to the placenta. So here you see it's not leathery, it's rind. Imagine pumpkin, imagine ash gourd, and imagine citrus like orange. The skin itself is different. Here, in case of hesperidium, it is leathery. Whereas in case of pepo, or you can say it is in case of cucurbits, it is what? It is tough, right? It's different. So this is the difference between hesperidium and you can say about the pepo. Hesperidium you will find in case of citrus family, right? Or the genus citrus, whereas pepo is in case of cucurbits, right? Okay. All right. Next modification of berry is your baluster. Okay, baluster. So baluster you will find in case of what? Pomegranate. Okay. Typical example of baluster is pomegranate. So एग्जाम में ऐसे डायरेक्टली एग्जाम्पल से भी पूछ सकते हैं कि baluster का एक एग्जाम्पल दे दो तो then in that way it will be what? Pomegranate, right? So the pericarp is tough and two rows of carpels are placed one over the another. Seeds are attached irregularly and calyx persists on the top. The succulent testa is edible. So here the edible portion is what? The testa. Okay, the testa is the edible portion. This one you see, the seeds are there, the testa is there, right? This is the leathery exocarp. Sorry, this is the leathery exocarp. Okay, and this is the fleshy mesocarp, but it is also not edible. Which is the edible portion? Testa. Okay, so that is baluster. Next, we'll see another modification of berries are amphicerica. Okay, so amphicerica, you've seen bale fruits, isn't it? Bale patta, bale fruits. So that is your amphicerica. So here you see, I'll mark this point. Okay, so that you can understand. There's a superior many-chambered, many-seeded seed. You see, superior word has come. What is superior? Ovary, right? It is developed from a superior ovary, okay? Many chambered and many seeds fruit with a woody pericarp. So here the pericarp is woody. See, berry, we have seen the modifications of berry, right? In hesperidium, it was what? What was the, you can say the pericarp, right? The different pericarps are different. In hesperidium, it was leathery rind, right? In pepo, it was what? Tough skin. And in amphicerica, it is what? In amphicerica, it is woody. Okay, woody pericarp. The placenta and possibly the inner layers of the pericarp becomes pulp edible, right? And this part. Okay, this is the placenta. This is the placenta and the inner layers of the pericarp. These are what? These are edible and they are pulpy. The testa is mucilaginous. Example of amphicerica is Agel marmelos, which is our main concern. That what is the example of amphicerica? Okay, wood apple or bale or the scientific name is what? Agel marmelos, right? So these are the major, you can say, modifications. Okay, the major modifications of berry. Okay, next, so we have discussed till now about drupe, about berry, and the modifications of berry, right? Now we'll discuss about what? Now we'll discuss about another type of simple fruit, which is pome. So in case of pome, you'll see that the fruit is false as it is surrounded by fleshy thalamus, which is edible, while the actual fruit lies within it. So I have explained this very beautifully in the previous slide, the thalamus part, the ovary part, right? So you can understand, I think from the diagram also it is very clear now that how the pome develops. Okay. So in case of pome, you see, it is developed from what? Fleshy thalamus. The edible portion of pome fruits is fleshy thalamus. Okay. Example is your apple fruit. And another thing is what? Pome, you'll find a lot of fruits, pome fruits belong to Rosaceae family, the apple family. Okay. Apple, pear, peach, plum, loquat, all this have um, pome as their fruit type. Okay, so Rosaceae family has pome fruits. Done. Okay. Next type of fruit after simple fruits will come to the aggregate fruits. So in case of aggregate fruits, you see that the flowers with apocarpus multiple gynoeciums. Here you see. That's why I explained to you what is the meaning of apocarpus, what is the meaning of syncarpus, inferior ovary, superior ovary, right? So apocarpus में क्या था? मल्टीपल ओवरी हो सकता है या फिर मल्टीपल कार्पल हो सकता है या फिर सिंपल कार्पल हो सकता है लेकिन वो क्या है फ्यूज्ड नहीं है राइट इट्स नॉट फ्यूज्ड द कार्पल और ओवरी इज नॉट फ्यूज्ड राइट दैट वाज एपोकार्पस so here you see that aggregate fruits are developed from apocarpus multiple gynoecium that means it's not from the single carpel or single gynoecium it is the apocarpus multiple gynoecium I told you right if I do the cross section then these are not, since these are not fused, then something like this will happen, right? If three carpels are joined, I mean, there are three carpels or three gynoecium, then something, if I do the cross section, something like this will happen, right? Since they're not fused. So this is what apocarpus multiple gynoecium develops into a number of fruits, such as what? You can say etaria of achenes, etaria of berries, etaria of drupes, okay? So achenes, berries, drupes. Actually, the fruit is this only. Okay, achenes, berries, and fruits. But since they are from multiple ones, so these are multiples. Okay, so here you see, these are achenes. Okay, each seed, each achene. This one you see, achene. Right? So etaria of achenes, that means a collection of achenes that will give you a strawberry, aggregate fruit. Then here you see in case of, this is your raspberry, which is etaria of drupes. So here you see this is the seeds are there. The seed is enclosed with this fleshy part, right? It's a drupe. Each one of them are drupe. So a collection of this drupe will give you the etaria of drupes, which is raspberry and aggregate fruit. Then in case of custard apple also, these are berry. Okay, each one of them is a berry, right? But since it's a collection, so etaria of berries, right? So this is what is your aggregate fruits. Now here, what you need to do is that you need to remember the examples, okay? That etaria of berries is what? Etaria of berries is your annonaceous fruits like custard apple. Then etaria of achenes is your strawberry and etaria of drupes is what? It's your raspberry, right? Okay. So then next, let us move to the multiple fruits. All right. Excellent. So in case of multiple fruits, what you will see, here you see multiple or composite fruit is formed by what? All the flowers of a whole inflorescence, right? They're grouped together. So there are two forms of multiple fruits. One is your sorosis, other one is your cyconus, right? So when we talk about sorosis, so sorosis, you see that all the floral parts, okay, this one, floral parts of a spadix type of inflorescence. What is the key word in case of sorosis? Spadix type of inflorescence, okay? So they fuse to form the fruit. Spadix type means, you've understood? Like this, right? It's a elongated one, so spadix type of inflorescence. Whereas in case of cyconus, that is fig, it is the ripening of the hypenthodium inflorescence. Okay, the hypenthodium inflorescence. Fig, you've seen, isn't it? It's somewhat like this inside portion, pulpy portion that we eat. So this is the whole inflorescence, hypenthodium inflorescence, which ripens to give the cyconus fruit, okay, which is fig. Okay, again, यहाँ पे क्या important हो जाता है? Examples are important, right? Jackfruit, fig, you need to remember. Now another example of sorosis. Okay, another example of sorosis, very common example. I want you to answer in the comment section. Okay, another example of sorosis. So this will be one question that you have to answer in the comment section. That is, what is another example of sorosis? One I've already mentioned here, jackfruit. Next, another one, you will have to mention it in the comment section, right? Then now that we've seen about the types of fruits, let us come to the classification of fruits, okay? So here also I have put up only those classifications which are of utmost importance. So first is your classification based on climatic requirement, okay? So we know if I talk about the three basic types of climate classifications for tropical climate, subtropical climate, temperate climate. So any fruit which grows in this tropical climate, hot and humid climate, those are tropical fruits. Subtropical climate, right? Wet and hot and humid and wet, a bit of humid climate, then it is your subtropical fruits, right? And if you see tropical fruits and subtropical fruits now, you can grow tropical fruit in subtropical regions and subtropical fruits in tropical regions as well. Okay, so there is not very much strict distinction between this tropical fruits and subtropical fruits. But again, then there is temperate fruits, okay, which require a pretty much cold climate. Okay, they require chilling temperatures also, which in the later, when we will deal with the temperate fruits, we'll deal with all these things in details. And another one is arid and semi-arid, which grows well in hot and dry climate. Okay, the examples are important in here. So in tropical fruits, we'll get mango, banana, papaya, sapota, pineapple, jackfruit, and custard apple. And there are also many more. I've just mentioned the most important ones. Another one is your subtropical fruits, right? What are the examples of subtropical fruits? The grapes, citrus, lychee, avocado, persimmon, fig, passion fruit. Okay, here you see this grapes, citrus, and lychee. Okay, these are very important subtropical fruits. They are strictly subtropical fruits. Okay, although they can be grown in tropical as well, but they're majorly subtropical fruits: citrus, grapes, and lychee. Okay, then and remember this three name. In the later slide, I'll say why. Okay. Then in the temperate fruit example, you see apple, pear, peach, plum, strawberry, almond, apricot, cherry. Okay. And in the arid, semi-arid, that is those fruits which grow in the dry and hot climates like date palm, bear, aunla, then pomegranate and falsa. Okay. Right. Next classification is based on the number of cotyledons, whether they are monocot or dicot. Now, easy way to remember is what? That is, there are only three families basically, which are monocots. Okay. Ericaceae, I mean fruit families. Okay. Ericaceae, Bromeliaceae, and Musaceae. Ericaceae, what are the fruits? Coconut, erica nut, date palm. These are your Ericaceae. The Palmyra palm, right? These are all your Ericaceae. And in case of Bromeliaceae, it is the pineapple. And Musaceae. So Musaceae is what? Banana. So it's so simple to remember, isn't it? So erica nut, Ericaceae. Bromelain of pineapple. So it belongs to the family Bromeliaceae. Pineapple belongs to the family Bromeliaceae. Musaceae. So banana scientific name is what? Musa species. Musa acuminata, Musa balbisiana. So it is Musaceae, right? Okay. Next we'll go for is the dicots, right? So any other family which are not these three, they are basically dicot family of fruits, like Anacardiaceae family for cashew and mango, Annonaceae, the custard apple family, Caricaceae family of papaya, Euphorbiaceae, Rosaceae, and Myrtaceae, Rutaceae, Moraceae. All these are what? These are all your dicots. Okay. The next is classification based on ripening behavior, like climacteric and non-climacteric. Again, very important. Climacteric fruits means even after harvesting, their respiration does not stop, right? Rather, it gets accelerated. Ethylene evolution and respiration gets accelerated after maturity. And so what happens is that when we harvest, even after harvest, the respiration continues. So those are what? Climacteric fruits. Example of climacteric fruits are mango, banana, jackfruit, apple, papaya, guava, pear, even tomato also, right? So therefore, we can harvest these crops a little bit mature, and by the time it reaches the consumer, it will be fully matured and edible, right? So that is your climacteric fruits. Non-climacteric fruits means once we harvest, then there won't be any more respiration, right? There won't be any more evolution of ethylene. So we need to harvest these fruits at the optimum stage of maturity, okay? Whenever it is edible, that at that stage we'll have to harvest. So that is your non-climacteric fruits. Okay, example of non-climacteric fruits is lychee, grape, citrus. See, that is why I was telling, like in the subtropical, while I was talking about the subtropical fruits, I was talking about, remember these three. Okay, these three groups, that is lychee, grape, citrus, they are strictly subtropical fruits, and also they are what? Non-climacteric fruits. That means citrus, you will not pluck citrus at immature stage. You will pluck citrus at its optimum maturity, okay, at the edible stage. Then even the same is with pomegranate, pineapple, pear, and cherry. Okay, these are non-climacteric fruits. So I hope this is clear. Okay. Now, there was a PYQ, since we have discussed about the fruit types. So there was a PYQ that appeared in A4 2021. The question was, what is the fruit type of pineapple? Okay, so the answer would be sorosis. What is sorosis? Whether it's a simple fruit, aggregate fruit, or composite fruit, you will have to answer that. Okay, this was the PIQ. Now my question is that what kind of fruit is sorosis? Whether it's a simple fruit, it's a modified berry, or aggregate fruit, or composite fruit. Okay. All right. Next is, these are the two homework questions for you. Okay. The answers of which I want in the comment section. And during the session also, I asked two questions. So those answers also I expect from you all, right? So the first question is, what is the fruit type of bear? Whether it's a berry, drupe, pome, or achene. And which of the following family bears pome fruits? Musaceae, Anacardiaceae, Ericaceae, and Rosaceae. So you'll have to answer these two questions. Okay. So that's all for today. And we'll meet again in the next part. Okay. Till then, keep your studies going, revise the things which are there, and do follow our channel for such kind of concept clarity series. And there are a lot of content that's available on our Telegram channel as well. Okay, the links of all the important channel website are posted into the description box. So thank you.